Hey there. Aging is just a part of life, right? It's a journey, but it's one that comes with a lot of changes. And trying to understand those changes, especially when they're happening to someone we love, can feel, well, a little overwhelming. But it really doesn't have to. So today, we're going to break down what people often call senile changes, and we're going to do it in a way that's clear and really supportive.
Maybe you've started to notice that your mom or dad is getting a bit more forgetful, or maybe your grandparent seems to be moving just a little bit slower these days. It is completely natural to worry when you see these things. So think of this as your guide. We're here to help you understand what's going on and, more importantly, give you some real, practical ways you can help right from home. Okay, let's get into it.
All right, first things first. Let's make sure we're on the same page. When we use the term senile changes, what are we actually talking about?
Okay, so at its core, it's really just a catch-all phrase for the age-related decline that can happen across a bunch of different areas. How we think, how we feel, how our bodies move. Now that word, senile, it can sound kind of harsh, right? A little clinical, a bit alarming. It's a bit of an old-fashioned term, and it carries some heavy negative baggage. That's why the most important part of this whole slide is the second sentence. These changes are often a normal part of healthy aging. It's not an automatic sign that something is terribly wrong.
So when do these shifts usually start to become noticeable? Well, the research generally points to somewhere in the range of 60 to 70 years old. Of course, this is just a guideline. Everyone's journey with aging is totally unique.
So what do these changes actually look like in day-to-day life? To make this a whole lot easier to get our heads around, we can break them down into 4 key areas. Knowing what to keep an eye out for can make you a much more tuned-in and helpful family member. First up, cognitive stuff. This could be things like a bit of forgetfulness, or you might notice it takes them a little longer to process things. Then you've got the physical changes, maybe a little less muscle strength, walking a bit slower. Emotionally, you might see some mood swings, maybe a bit more irritability, or they might not want to go out as much. And finally, sensory changes. Things like vision getting a little blurry, or not hearing as well. That's all part of the picture too.
Okay, now we are at what is, without a doubt, the most important part of our chat today. We have to understand the difference between what's considered normal for aging and what could be a serious warning sign. Getting this right is absolutely critical.
Let's just look at this side by side. It makes it so clear. Forgetting where you put your keys every now and then, that's pretty normal aging stuff. But forgetting the names of your own children or spouse, that's a huge warning sign. In the same way, slowing down a little bit physically is expected, but falling down frequently, that is not. Seeing the contrast like this really helps us separate those little everyday things from the big red flags that tell us we need to get a doctor involved. And catching those early makes all the difference.
So, knowing the difference is one thing, but how do you actually keep track of this stuff without, making your loved one feel like they're under a microscope? Let's put together a really simple toolkit you can start using at home today.
It's all about creating a simple, gentle routine. Just asking, what did you have for lunch, is a casual way to check memory. As they walk across the living room, just notice their balance. Are they managing to get dressed okay on their own? Have you noticed any big shifts in their mood or if they're eating less? These aren't tests, right? They're just small, loving observations that you make consistently. And you want to know the single most powerful tool you can have? It's just a simple notebook, a family health diary, a place where you can jot down your observations, the date, what you saw, any changes. This little book becomes incredibly valuable when you talk to a doctor because you're not going in with vague feelings. You're going in with a clear pattern of what's been happening over time. Okay, so we've talked about what to look for and how to track it. Now let's switch gears to the most empowering part, the action plan. What are the simple, powerful things you can do every single day to really be there for them? The building blocks of great support are pretty straightforward, but they are so effective. Keeping the mind busy with a crossroad puzzle or just a good conversation is huge. Encouraging some safe movement, even just a walk to the mailbox, helps maintain strength. Good food and plenty of water can work wonders for mood and energy. And listen, never ever underestimate how powerful just staying connected with people is for fighting off loneliness.
And this brings us to a really core idea. Routine is comfort. Seriously, a predictable schedule. Knowing when meals are, when it's time to sleep, when activities happen, it creates this sense of stability and security. It can dramatically cut down on confusion and anxiety. It's truly one of the kindest things you can help create.
Another super practical thing you can do is improve home safety. These are things you can do right now that make a world of difference. Getting rid of trip hazards like loose rugs, putting a non-slip mat in the shower, making sure rooms are well lit, These are simple fixes that can literally prevent a fall and give your loved one a huge boost in confidence and independence.
We've covered a ton of ground on what you can do at home, but it's just as important to know your own limits and to recognize when it's time to call in the professionals.
So let's be crystal clear about this. If you see any of these signs, sudden, severe confusion, a really fast decline in memory, or if they start having trouble recognizing people they've known forever, it is time to see a doctor. Please don't wait. These are signals that something more is going on, and you need a professional to figure it out.
And that right there really brings us to the main takeaway. Your attention, your support, and your willingness to act early, it all matters more than you can possibly imagine. Being attentive isn't going to stop the aging process, but it can make an enormous, meaningful difference in your loved one's comfort, their independence, and their overall quality of life.
So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this one question to think about. After everything we've talked about, what's just one small, totally manageable thing you can do today? Maybe it's starting that health diary. Maybe it's suggesting a short walk after dinner. Or maybe it's just picking up the phone for a real conversation. The whole journey really does start with just one small step.